Tuesday, May 18th, and we're here for Yoga Flow. So get comfortable however you need to sit. And you know that. If you need to stretch your legs out, do. If you want to sit cross-legged, do. But just adjust to where you feel like you can allow yourself to release up through the crown of your head. Feel okay in your hips. Grab blankets if you need to sit on. And just close your eyes. Let your chin just slightly come down for a second, just to release the back of the neck a little bit. And then once you do start to lift up to feel the top of the head reaching up, start to come into watching your breath now. In and out through your nose. Feeling your breath coming into your belly. And then letting your arms come on out beside you here now. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our chest. And keeping your hands together, let's inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. Good. And from here, start to just easily circle your torso a little bit. Keep it nice and long. Bring your hands wherever's comfortable. You can stay really small. Let your breath help you here, exhaling as you come forward, inhaling as you come back. You can get bigger and bigger if it feels good. Just really pay attention to how your back feels, keeping that length of the spine as best you can. We will stop to reverse the direction of those circles. So wherever feels good to stop, let yourself come off in the other direction. Back a little tiny bit forward here. Now for a little forward bend, you don't have to go any ways at all. You can let yourself stay up higher. You can walk your hands out if you choose to, keeping that back long, thinking of coming forward from your low back, and just give yourself time to adjust here. So if you're cross-legged on the floor, feel the outside edges of your feet gently pressing down. You're welcome to go farther forward with your hands, come farther forward over your legs, but really, again, be mindful of your back. Take your time. You can allow your head to release, to feel that release in your neck too. Good. One more breath. And then we'll slowly walk ourselves on back up here now, letting your hands come on out beside you. Let's inhale the arms straight out from our shoulders. Flex your hands here. Let yourself feel your wrists. And then send your hands forward of your shoulders. So just bring your hands on forward. And then from here, let your hands turn the other way. So your fingertips face down and you're pressing gently into the heels of your hands. And now turn the hands away, palms away from each other. So your thumbs are looking down to the floor and your pinkies are up. And bring one hand, it doesn't matter which one, on top of the other. Clasp your hands, one wrist on top of the other here. Let your shoulders melt down and squeeze your hands a little bit. Really feel your fingers squeezing, your palms towards each other. And then start to lower your arms down. Now you can stay with your hands down in front of you. Let your head come down if you can to look at them. Or if you want, you can keep sending the hands up through that hole you've created and end up resting with your head forward, maybe even resting your forehead on your hands. You know, that's up to you. Just be mindful, let yourself release. through the back of your neck into the upper back there, but still sitting tall. And then send your hands on back down and through and let them come back forward of your chest. And we're going to switch the hand that's on top, the wrist that's on top. So again, interlacing, clasping, shoulders softening down, and then lowering your hands down. And again, you can just stay down with the hands, look down at them, release your neck there. Or you can send the hands up and through and let your forehead again. If your forehead can rest on your hands, think about right there between your eyebrows, just resting gently on your hands. Good. And then we'll send the hands back down if they were up and all the way back forward at the chest again. Squeeze again, just gently together. And then release your hands back out, straight out from your shoulders and flex your hands. Bend your elbows a little bit. And then press out into the heels of the hands, really feeling that undersides of the arms. And lowering your arms down behind you here now. Fingertips on the floor if you're on the floor, or go flat to your palms if you choose to. But think of your chest coming forward, drawing the chest forward on a little bit of a diagonal line here. Keep the belly gently engaged and your tailbone reaching downward. And then we'll release to come on forward. Shake your hands out a little bit. We're going to switch the cross of our legs if you're cross-legged. So if you need to stretch your legs out, do. Take your time to bring your other leg in front. Bringing your hands on out beside you. Taking a nice inhale. And on the exhale, twist to your left. So bring your right hand around towards your left knee. Remember, I don't mirror because of the camera. So if you get mixed up, it really doesn't matter. We'll do both sides of everything. So feel your feet in the floor, whatever part of your feet are touching, depending on how you're sitting. Press down into whatever part of your feet are touching the floor. Inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center and all the way into the other direction for that twist. So be mindful of how your neck feels. If you like to look more behind yourself, do. If you feel kind of like, well, I just want to look beside myself, then do. One more inhale. And let your exhale draw you on back around into center. From here, let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And then from here, give yourself a hug, either arm on top. Just let yourself release there. Chin comes down a little bit towards the chest. And if it feels good to let your head turn side to side, do. In other words, if you want to send your ear towards your shoulder there, so you come into a little bit more of a side stretch, or maybe you want to keep your chin down, just play a little bit. You can even let your elbows, your shoulders kind of go a little bit side to side too. Just wake up the upper middle back there and upper back. And if you want to add an eagle wrap here, you can come into half or full eagle wrap. So you can slide to your half wrap or come to your full wrap, letting yourself feel the shoulders releasing down. You can stay hugging, remember, we're trying to release tension, not add it. Feel that space between the shoulder blades. One more breath. And then let yourself release. Come on down. Right away, go ahead and bring your other arm on top to give a hug. So again, you can hug lower if you want, more towards your armpits, or you can go up and over your shoulders. And then adding that head movement, or again, if it feels kind of good, even to sway a little bit with your shoulders side to side. Just be mindful. Let it feel like, like you're giving yourself a hug, right? And allowing yourself just to move the way you need to feel better. And then come on back with your gaze forward. And again, you can do the half eagle wrap or the full eagle wrap with your arms, or you can just come into staying hugging. But just release there between the shoulder blades on your back. Again, bring your awareness to that space. Good. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And then let your left arm come down. Right arm reaches up. Come over into a little bit of a side stretch. Now, how deep you go is up to you. You can stay almost upright and reach up through the fingertips and feel a lot going on, right? or you can go deeper if you choose. And then we'll rise back up to switch arms, lowering that right arm down and then coming up again, up through the fingertips, but letting yourself just ease your way into finding more space between the ribs on the left side. And we'll release to come on back up from here. We're going to bring our legs out in front of us and let them come just a little bit apart. Not a big, huge wide angle, but enough to where you can feel, if you come a tiny bit forward, you can feel the backs of your legs, you can feel your inner thighs, your outer thighs. You can reach for your toes if you want to, or put your hands on the floor or on your shins, doesn't matter. So if you need to, just use your hands back here and let the legs open up a little bit. Feel your heels on the ground, drawing back towards you. So you're engaged in your legs as you come into feeling them there. Good. One more breath. And then we'll rise on back up. Bringing your legs on back in front of you. Shake them out a little bit. Do little bounces if you want, little windshield wiper blades if you choose. And we're going to come on around towards our hands and knees from here. So take your time as you come around. Get yourself situated. And if your wrists bother you, feel free to come to fists. If you feel better to put a blanket underneath the palms of your hands, sometimes that's helpful. Or under your knees, if your knees don't like the surface there. And of course, you can always come to your forearms to do your cat-cows, right? So take your time moving through your spine here. And we are all different, right? If you know that rounding into your back does not feel good to you, right? You can allow yourself just to adjust these poses. You can go from neutral spine to your cow pose if you want. You can let yourself just play a little bit with feeling how it feels if you round up into cat. There are very many messages about if you have any kind of osteopenia or osteoporosis going on, about rounding into your back. So everybody has to really think for themselves, and feel how you feel as you decide how it feels to round up into your back. If you have any hesitation about it, just don't do it. It's the same thing in any forward bend as well. So finish off the one you're on. And come back to a little bit more neutral spine there. And then just look over to your right. Let your right arm float up about parallel to the floor for a second. And then if it feels good, go ahead and keep the arm headed up so that the hand reaches up higher towards the ceiling. You can look up if you want. You don't have to if it bothers your neck. And then lower that hand on down and we'll go to the left. So left arm comes out again. How high that hand starts to float up and how much you look up to you. Just feeling the shoulders there. And then we'll release and come on back down. Let's send our right foot behind us on the floor. Curl your toes under. Press into the top of to the inner heel back there. Let yourself just press into your hands equally. And then if you can float your left knee up, you might even want to lift the left foot up too and flex it. That's up to you. And then we're going to come back down. We're going to bring that right knee back in too and send the left foot back. Curl the toes under, keep it on the floor, wake up the back of the leg. And zip up your low belly. Now floating that knee up, getting more into the arms and shoulders, up to you if you want to lift the foot up too. Good, and then we'll bring the knee back down and bring the other knee back down and shift back towards your child's pose. You don't have to go fully. If you need to stay forward on your forearms, do. If you can shift back, some of you might even want to bend your elbows and put your hands on your upper back, letting your triceps get a nice stretch there. Now, don't do that if it feels not good. Keep your arms forward and keep your elbows soft if you can. And breathe into your low back. Feel the breath, expanding the low back, and let yourself release through the hips and your back. Good. And then we'll bring ourselves back up to all fours. And let's step our left foot forward and keep our right foot back for a lunge. So, you know, you can grab your blocks if you want them. You can have your hands any height you want to be in that lunge. Get yourself situated there. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. And just enjoy finding the length through the whole body here. And then see if you can, just do these little tiny pulses. So when you inhale, your hips rise up a little bit. And when you exhale, you come back into your full lunge. So it's not a big movement. It is really like a tiny little pulse, that little lift in the hips as you inhale. And when you exhale, coming back, pressing the feet away from each other a little bit when you do that. Good. Well, one more breath here. And we are going to switch legs. It does not matter whether you step forward or back. That's up to you. Finding your lunge on the other side. Again, just get comfortable. Remember, make sure that front knee is not bent farther forward than your ankle. And then again, add that little pulse if you can. Inhale, lift the hips up a little bit. As you exhale, press the feet away from each other. Elongate even more through the body there. So those little pulses, letting yourself just enjoy, easing your way. It's kind of like getting deeper and deeper into your lunge there, right? And then finish off. Stay back in that full lunge. Step forward from here. Come on into your standing forward bend. So if you're more comfortable to let your elbows come to rest above your knees to support a long back, then do that. Or of course, you got your blocks there. You can have hands on the blocks, or you can let yourself release fully forward if you're okay to do that. And then just be mindful. Feel the weight of your head if you can, as long as it doesn't bother your back, to let your head hang. Just enjoy letting yourself come into your forward bend where you can be. You're comfortable, and really it's just the weight of the torso forward, helping the backs of the legs to open up a little more deeply. And now stay with your breath, following the breath all the way in and out. One more breath here. And as we bring our hands to our hips, press into our feet, we're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts, coming into mountain pose here. So if you need to adjust at all, do. Actually release your hands down for a second and shake them out. And adjust your feet if you need to, or whatever else you need to, clothes, whatever. And then just bring your gaze on forward. Let your arms just hang for a second. So see if you can really feel the weight of your arms, but not letting the weight of your arms round your shoulders forward, right? You're lengthening up through the crown of your head. Your tailbone is dropping down towards between your heels. So you're not tucking your tailbone forward. There's that nice little natural curve in your low back, however deep that is for you. And just feel the weight of those arms. Help your shoulders release. Think about space between your ears and your shoulders. And then as you bend your elbows and bring your hands to meet in front of your chest, just have that same feeling of being very open across your chest, your upper back. Let your fingers just spread a little bit and then feel that soft connection, each finger and your thumbs, whatever part of your palms are meeting there. And then feel that same thing about your feet into the floor, right? Try not to grip with your toes, but you feel your toes softly meeting the floor and your arches lifting up away from the floor. Four corners of the feet reaching down into the floor. Mountain pose. The body really wants to align, so just enjoy that alignment. We'll release our arms on down beside us. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward from the hips, coming on into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a flat back, whether you put your hands on your shins or your blocks, totally up to you. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So first down dog in the class. Be mindful, do what you need. If you need to wiggle around a little bit, walk a little bit in your dog. Let yourself bend your knees if you choose. But feel those elbows hugging towards each other. Let yourself enjoy reaching equally back through your sitting bones, through your tailbone. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards a plank. Now, if you need to come down to your forearms, do it. Or if you need to put your knees down and come into a half plank. Just engage the belly. Feel your sitting bones reaching back towards your heels. We are going to lower down, so you can put your knees down first, all the way back down, all the way down to the mat. And let's come into a Sphinx pose with our elbows under our shoulders, if you're okay to do that. Remember, if you need to be lower, do what feels best for your shoulders. Come down with the elbows towards the waist a little more, or arms can be higher. But just remember, you got to find what feels very easy for you. Let this be an easy pose. And just feel gently the tops of the feet into the floor. One more breath. Spread your fingers wide now. Feel your hands there really spread wide. Like if you were at a piano trying to reach an octave, right? With your fingers there, your thumb and your pinky. And then we'll lower on down. We're going to come on back to down dog. So you can come back however you choose, through a half or a full push-up. Or you can just go back to your hands and knees and back to your down dog. Hug your elbows inward. Find that comfort in your shoulders. And we'll bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And you know, if you need to put your left knee down to get there too. And we'll come on back into standing forward bend. And again, you adjust how you need. If you need support, use it. If you like to release, hold your elbows, by all means do. But remember, think about your sitting bones being pretty much over your heels, so you're not shifting your hips back behind you. And then just breathe, full deep breaths, watching those breaths all the way through. See if you can let your inhales and exhales feel equally important, which they are, of course. You couldn't have one without the other, could you? And think about them becoming a little more even if you can. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms. Bring your hands behind you. Clasp them here. And now bend your elbows more and really squeeze your palms in towards each other for a second so you feel your biceps. And now from here, see if you can just slide your left forearm onto your low back. And again, if you can squeeze that right palm into the left one there because your fingers are interlaced, then do that. And then come on back through center and go to the other side. So you fold your right forearm onto your low back and squeeze your palms towards each other if you can. Good. And then release. Let your hands, palms come apart, but the hands are still interlaced, fingers interlaced. And as you inhale, let your arms come a little bit off your back. And as you exhale, let them come back. So again, inhaling, letting the arms come a little bit away, as much as you can. And as you exhale, come back. This time, inhale, keep your hands where they are. And as you exhale, bend your knees and come forward with a flat back. Get parallel to the floor here. And see if you can lift your hands a little off your back here when you inhale. And when you exhale, let them come back down. Now, the next time you exhale, let the hands come down. And the next time you exhale, you decide if you want to fold over your legs. Don't do it if it bothers your back. And then if you want your arms to come more away from your back now, you can. Now, feel your feet in the floor. Press the feet gently away from each other like you're trying to make your mat wider. Make sure you're not rolling to the outside edges of your feet, though. Lift your toes all up. And then let your toes come back down, release your arms on down. Let your next inhale help you find that flat, long back. And we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Good. Let's let our next inhale bring us to plank. Now for fun, lift your right foot up a couple inches. Find your three-legged plank. And then put it down and do the left foot. And then put it down, and we're going to lower down from here. So knees first if you need. And we'll come into a little cobra. Now you can stay in a baby cobra here. You don't have to press into your hands at all. You can even float your hands up, let your back work there, or you can press into your hands and come up higher if you choose, in towards your cobra. Keep the elbows hugging in, whether you're up high or down low. And then we'll release and come on back down. We're going to come back to down dog. So moving back into your downward facing dog pose. And bringing your left foot forward from here to come into lunge. And then coming back into your standing forward bend. Go right to your breaths. Use whatever support you need, but go right to those breaths. And see if you can let go through your face. And through your jaw. Feel really soft. All through your face. Imagine your throat relaxing. Good. We're going to let ourselves come on up to standing. Bend your knees, press into your feet, rise up and inhale your arms out and up. And on your exhale, come on back into mountain pose here. Feel the hands together. Take a couple of breaths. We're about to move with our breaths through to sun salutations. And see if you can really feel like the breath is easily moving you through in a very much feeling of flowing through your body here. So unfolding your arms on down. Let's inhale the arms all the way out and up. And let your exhale bring you forward. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And exhale right foot back to lunge. Inhale. Exhale into your downward dog. Let your inhale bring you to your plank. And your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale right foot forward to your lunge. And inhale. Exhale standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising all the way up to the top. And on the exhale we'll come forward again. Inhale into that long back. Exhale left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale down dog. Inhale your way to your plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra. Exhaling back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising again to the top. And let that exhale carry you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come to down dog. You can jump or walk your way back. Find your down dog. Wag your tail a little bit. Spread your fingers nice and wide. You might even want to check your hands out. Looking at them to make sure you've got your pointer fingers about parallel to each other. Settle into your breath again. Good. Let your dog be a resting pose for a second. And then from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one. Make sure you have 2 blocks handy here at the front of your mat. And then let yourself go ahead, get that back foot aligned. Bend that front knee, make sure you're well aligned there. And then let your arms do that same hanging as we did when we were in mountain pose for a second. So you're being really, really mindful of feeling open across your chest. Now float your arms just a little bit away from you, turn your palms forward. And let yourself reach down through the fingertips. Feel nice and open across your chest. Good. And now let's bend our elbows and bring our hands right to meet in front of our hearts. And spread your fingers a little bit. Let yourself enjoy. And then clasp your hands. Send the palms outward away from your chest. And start to float your arms up a little bit. Now it doesn't matter how high. If your shoulders bother you, stay somewhat forward. If you can get yourself with your upper arms by your ears, do. And some of you may want to keep going even a little higher with your gaze, finding that lift at the base of your shoulder blades. So be mindful. Feel that great openness across the front of the right hip. Feel the feet in the floor equally. One more breath here. And then bring your gaze back forward. Open your arms on back down beside you. We're going to bring our hands behind us. Now you can clasp your hands or you can hold your wrists or your forearms. We're going to straighten the front knee out. Bringing this right hip pointer around to try to square your hips. If you have to adjust the length of your stance, do. And then we're going to come forward into pyramid. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. If you can only go 2 inches, go 2 inches. Because actually, in a way, that is so much hard work. Oh, it's certainly harder than if you fold over your legs, actually. But you can keep going farther if you want. Some of you may decide you want to go pretty low, maybe not, totally up to you. Now when you're ready to release your hands down, you decide what height you want to be. And if you need to adjust your legs, once you get your hands down, do. Coming into that pyramid pose, lengthen out through the spine here. Imagine you're drawing your hip pointer bones towards the midline, but reaching back through your tailbone. Good. One more breath here. And now if you do want to fold over that leg, do. You know, some of you might even want to put your hands on the floor, turn your fingertips towards the foot of your mat. Only if that feels okay for your back. Stay long if you need. Good. And then bring your hands back so you can bend the front knee and come into a lunge. So your right heel is now going to reach directly behind your foot. And let's come into twist, left hand to the hip or the low back. If you want to bring your right elbow over to your left knee for a twisted prayer, you can. Or you can reach that left arm up if you have your right hand grounded too. That's up to you. Just be mindful of letting yourself come into a twist that feels really good for you, finding that twist all the way into the inner right heel and out through the top of your head. And then we'll go ahead and bring the hand on back down. And we're going to come on into downward facing dog pose from here. Once you get in dog, walk to the tops of the toes and really take your time on each foot. So you press into the top of your toes. Ease your way. Good. And then, once you're back in a full dog, you can come out to plank. You can move through for a back bend if you choose to. However you want. You can go through chaturanga, lowering down. You can come through those kriyas where you come from your plank to your up dog. And then move the way you want. If you want to keep moving through a little bit of flow, do. If you feel like you'd rather not, put your knees down if you'd rather. Take your time. Good. And then let's meet back in down dog. We're going to bring the right foot forward this time, and we're coming up for that warrior one. So again, you have your blocks there for that pyramid coming up, and get yourself aligned. Bring the shoulders around square. Let yourself shake your hands out a little bit as you get your feet adjusted, and really feel, again, that grounding of that left foot, that openness in the front of your left hip. Arches lifting up. Make sure that front knee is aligned. And then float your arms a little away from you. Turn your palms forward. Let yourself feel open across your chest, your upper back. Good. Now this time, as you bring your hands to me in front of your heart, we're going to rise them up through the midline and clasp, interlace your fingers, send your pointer finger up. Hug your elbows in towards your face a little bit and see if you can look up. Now you can bend your elbows if you have to here. Or you can keep your arms forward if it bothers your shoulders, right? And then if any of you want to come into straighter arms, keeping your hands together, you can. And you can look up if that feels fine to you. Let yourself enjoy finding your whole body in your warrior one. Inhaling up the front and exhaling down the back of the body. One more breath. And then as you bring your gaze back forward, open your arms on back out behind you to clasp them. Adjust to bring those legs straight and that left hip pointer around. Now how you hold, up to you. You can go hands, forearms, wrists, elbows. And then as you come forward, take your time. Maybe you just want to go an inch and stay there. Because your thighs need to be lifting up to protect yourself there, to come into the backs of the legs. How far you go, up to you with your hands up like this. And then when you're ready to lower your hands down, you decide what height you want to be. Remember, the blocks have 3 heights. You can pick one. You can adjust your stance too if you feel a little cockeyed. And then draw the belly. Zip the belly up. Feel the hip pointers drawing towards each other. Reach back through your tailbone. And then just keep those legs working. Let yourself enjoy opening up the backs of your legs. And folding forward is optional, right? You don't have to. If it feels good, you can come kind of bowing over that front leg and bring your hands where you want. Good. And then come on back to a longer back again. We're going to bend the front knee. Come into lunge now. So releasing that left heel directly behind your foot. Your twist of choice. Right hand can come to the low back. You can stretch the right arm up, or you can bring your left elbow across to your right knee. So you pick the twist that feels the best for you. Enjoy that length as you reach out through the top of your head, back through your inner left heel. All the space in your spine. It's a great pose. We're going to bring our hand on back down, and we're going to come on back into downward facing dog pose. Good. Walk again a little bit, and then when you're ready, you're on your own. You can come out to a plank. You don't have to do these. You can move through for a vinyasa or kriya, or you can put your knees down, or you might want to do something else entirely, right? So if you feel the need to do something else, do. Take your time. Good. And then we'll meet back in down dog. And from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward, and we're coming up for warrior 2. Again, have your blocks handy. Let your heels line up for your warrior 2. Get that back foot adjusted where you feel comfortable in your ankle, your knee, up into your hip. Bend that front knee. Let yourself be mindful there. And then go ahead, reach out through your fingertips. Let your hands come higher than you ever do, really. High to a really wide open V, and let your shoulders melt down. And then as the hands start to lower and you're reaching out through your fingertips and you're turning to look, bring your hands right to that place where it feels perfect. And you can find that strength and power of your warrior 2. Feeling the feet in the floor, letting yourself enjoy. Now let your right hand come down to your right hip. We're going to straighten the left knee out, and we're going to bring the left hand down for a triangle pose. Now whether you have the hand come down your leg in your triangle, or you want to grab a block and put your hand on a block any height, either in front of or behind your leg there. Totally up to you. Feel your thighs lifting up. If you can roll that right shoulder up and add the top arm, you do. But if not, don't do it. Just enjoy. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips, coming into the backs of the legs. Now turn to look down at your left foot on the floor. Let your right arm come down too, so it comes more parallel to the floor. It's coming by your head a little bit. And now from here, we're going to walk around into a wide-legged forward bend. So it's really easy just to either grab your blocks and turn yourself on around into a wide-legged forward bend here. Adjust your feet, of course, when you get there. Start to bend one knee at a time. And you can have your hands, on blocks or the floor. Bend a knee at a time. Let your inner thighs release. And then walk your hands way out. So whether you're on blocks or the floor, come out like you're doing a down dog. And let your hands be a little wider than they are in down dog. Let your heart melt down a little bit. You can bend your knees in this. Just enjoy. Let your heart melt down a little bit. Good. And then come come on back to set yourself up to stay in this pose for a few breaths. So whatever helps you to be able to release. If you need to keep that long back in this pose, you can have your hands or forearms on blocks in front of you. You can, if you want, put your elbows above your knees. That'll lengthen out the low back too. If you're fine to bring your hands back more towards between your feet, feel free to do that. I mean, if the traditional pose feels fine for your back, you can let yourself release, crown of the head towards the floor, hands shoulder distance apart. But just come to those breaths wherever you get set up to be, where you're comfortable. Just come into watching your breaths fully and deeply, all the way in and all the way out. And then see if you can count when you inhale, and think of reaching close to that same count when you exhale, or even a little bit longer on your exhales if that feels even better. And at the end of your exhales now, see if you can think of drawing your low belly in a little bit at the very end of your exhale before you inhale. Good. And let yourself from here come on back out so you can walk back over to that left foot. We're going to come on back into lunge, and we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So find your dog, and then let your feet come just a little closer together. Lift your right leg up in the air behind you and bend the knee, and then think of stacking your right hip on top of your left. You're going to open up, just releasing there. You can look under your right arm if you want. And then come into a straight right leg, really long, and then turn the toes down so you're squaring your hips again, and put the foot back on the floor. We're going to do the left leg up. Bend the knee and open the hip at first. So if you can imagine somebody drawing that left knee way up on that diagonal line, press equally back out of your hands, and then straighten the knee out if you can, the long leg there, and then turn for the toes to face down. Good. Come on back into down dog. You're on your own if you want to do vinyasas or kriyas, do. If you don't. You can come out for planks, or you can go, yes, no, I'm done with that, and you can rest. You can stay in dog if you choose. You can leave out the back bends and just come into a plank if you want. Good. Let's finish off and meet back in down dog. And from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two. Line those heels up. Have your blocks again. You know, if you like it for your triangle there, you have a block. And then take your time. Get really easy in how you have your stance here. Make sure that front knee is aligned over the center of your foot. Float your arms up a little bit higher than usual, right? So you can, lift your shoulders for a second. Feel how it feels. And then let the shoulders melt down. And then as you lower your hands down and you look out over the top of that right hand, it's easy. It feels really natural to let yourself feel your whole body extending in the pose, right? Shoulders are soft, your arms are growing out of your back. You feel very balanced. Nice. Putting our left hand on our left hip, we're going to straighten the right knee out, and we're going to bring the right hand down for triangle. So again, use whatever support you like. Your leg, some of you might want to go to the floor. Let your thighs lift up. Left arm coming on up for triangle if you feel so inclined. So that's totally optional. Left hand can stay on the hip. Thighs are engaging upward, remember. Imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet, but you're lifting your thighs up at the same time. It's so awesome, isn't it? So one more breath. Finding that length through the spine. Beautiful. Now turn to look at your right foot on the floor. Let your left arm lower down towards your head. Turn your palm down towards the ground. And now keep the thighs lifting up. Feel that wonderful stretch through the side body. And now from here, you might bend your right knee a little bit if that helps you. We're going to walk around for that wide-legged forward bend. Again, you can have your blocks if you want, but keep walking over to your left foot, towards it. You don't have to go all the way to it. And you can stay here, let yourself just release. Hands can be on the blocks, or you can hold on to the outside of your foot or your ankle. And then we'll come back to center, and we're going to go over to the right. And again, how far you go is up to you. Just breathe. Let it feel amazing to feel that left foot gently pressing away from you, from the midline. And then come on back into center. Turn your toes out a little bit and bend a knee at a time. So now you're a little bit turned out. You can go as low as you want. If you bend your right knee and you want to lift your left foot to your heel and shift your hips down towards the floor, you can. Don't do it if it's too much. You can go from side to side, however you choose to. Just take your time. Let yourself find your best release there. And then when you're ready, coming on back into center. And just, again, set up to take a few breaths here, allowing yourself just to enjoy the pose. Let the pose do it all for you. All you need to do is watch your breath. Just receive your breaths in and out, in and out. Good. One more breath. Even though we could stay there a long time. Walk your hands on back out. Now, we are going to walk back to our right foot and find lunge. But we need to get our blocks, right? So you need to get your blocks. Have them under your hands. Come on up to the highest height of the block for a second on your lunge. And then walk your blocks forward. Lift yourself on up into a brief warrior three with your left toes facing down towards the ground. Bend both your knees for a second. Let yourself enjoy, get leveled out there. And then reach back into that warrior three so the toes face down. But now you're going to shift your weight to your right hand more. Come to your left fingertips and open into half moon. So letting the left toes open away from the floor. Now, if you want to lower your hand down, if you want to make your block lower, think about practicing your half moon balance. Put your hand on the floor if you want. You can lift the left hand up if you choose to. You don't have to. So be mindful. You know, it's not about forcing yourself into a balance. It's just playful. And you don't have to balance at all. Come where you can. Good. Now from here, all you're going to do is turn back to face the floor. Bring your hands down. Put that left foot back on the floor and right away lift your right foot up. Let the toes face down. Bend your knees a little bit. Let yourself play with that warrior three. Just adjust a little bit to standing on that one leg. And then when you're ready, as you shift to your left hand more, you open that right hip. And again, you can decide, do you want to bring your hand up? Do you want to come into a full balance or not? Feel free to keep your hand down. Let yourself feel that heel reaching directly behind your sitting bone. Nice. Good. And when you've had entirely enough of that, let your foot come on back down as you bring your hand down. And we're going to walk into down dog from here. So let yourself come on into down dog briefly. And then let your knees come down to the mat. And come on into child's pose, shifting back with the hips. And let yourself, again, if you need to stay somewhat forward, do. Go ahead and come up enough to thread the needle with your right arm. So let your right arm come under you, and you can either keep your left arm overhead or soften it there, let the elbow bend, or you can put your left hand up on your back if that feels good, on your low back, with your palm up. You know, just play a little bit. Let it feel good. Or you can stretch the arm all the way up towards the ceiling too, if that feels good. Just find the relief for your shoulders. And then bring your left hand back enough to press up, and we're going to go to the other side. So as you thread the needle with that left arm, if you can let your side of your head come to the floor, you can always use your right hand as a pillow for your head if you want. That feels good, right? Or, again, play with that right arm, doing whatever you want to do. Just enjoy. Good. And then come on back in the center, a breath here. Good. And now, we're going to kind of slither forward into a Sphinx pose. So, letting your legs come back behind you. Turn your palms down towards the ground. Spread your fingers again a little bit. Let yourself engage your belly just enough to feel like you don't have any discomfort in your low back at all. You can go lower if you need. Good. And let's go ahead and bring our hands together, clasp them. Send your pinky fingers out. Press down into the forearms a little bit. And then either a half plank or a full forearm plank. So you can either keep your knees down and lift up into a half forearm plank, pressing into the forearms, or you can come into your full one. Let yourself engage your belly a little bit there. Feel the heels reaching, the sitting bones reaching down for the heels. Now, if you can, bring your knees one at a time onto the floor. Get yourself set up, and then lift up into a dolphin pose. And if you know dolphin pose is not for your shoulders, don't do it. Stay there, rest for a bit, come back into your forearm plank if you want. If you're in your dolphin, see if you can inhale your heels up, and when you exhale, let them come down towards the ground. So just ease your way a little bit there if you can. Keep feeling the forearms pressing down, elbows hugging towards each other. Head is hanging, remember. You do not want your head on the floor in your dolphin pose. Now, walk back to your plank if you can again from there, which is pretty hard, actually. It's walking back and forth between these. See if you can stay a breath, and then walk back again into your dolphin. And if you're like, yeah, no way I'm doing that, don't do it. Take your time. Be where you can. Good. We're going to come back to the plank. So if you don't want to walk back, do what you need to do to come back into that forearm plank. That's a lot of work. And then come on down. Release your arms on down beside you. Turn your palms down towards the ground. And on your next inhale, come on up into a locust. Reaching the fingertips and the toes. Reaching back towards behind you. Open across your chest. I feel like you're floating in a way, right? So, so if you need to, come down a little bit, and then when you inhale, again, it's like you're just floating. Your breaths are kind of shallow. You don't even, put your mind on something else. Imagine something else that feels a lot better. And then we're going to come on back down. We're going to shift back enough with our hips to then come forward for pigeon with our left knee. So left knee aims towards the left front corner of your mat, and that left heel comes in towards your right hip pointer bone. And that back foot, remember, is directly behind you. You might want to look back. Make sure you don't have your right leg out to the side, but the leg's behind you. Now, all of you know, if you don't feel safe or comfortable in this pose, don't do it. Lie on your back and do a figure four instead, right? Now, you can grab a blanket. I don't have one close, but you can put a blanket under your left hip, and that might make it a little more doable, right? You can come up if you want on the fingertips, get a little bit higher, and feel that openness right here in the front of the right hip there. And now take your time when you start to ease your way forward in your pigeon. So if you want to use forearms to support yourself, if you want to lie to rest your head on your hands or on the floor, just be mindful, let it feel good. And just breathe. Breathe into your low back. Good. Full deep breaths. Feeling that expansion of the low back. One more breath. And then come up onto your forearms again. See if you can bend your right knee. Flex your foot. Just for a second, feel your quad. Now, those of you who like to go higher up in this, you can, but you don't need to. You're already really feeling your hips and your right thigh there. You can reach back and get hold of the top of the foot with your right hand if you come up higher. That's up to you. Don't do it if it's too much. And we are going to switch legs. So how you do that's up to you. If you want to come into a child's pose briefly or a down dog or whatever feels good before you bring your right knee forward. So again, as you do, bring that right knee towards the right front corner of your mat. Remember, there's that little bit of a turnout, and that right heel is coming in towards your hip pointer bone. And then again, check your foot out. I like to curl my toes under on that back foot and just make sure I look back and feel it directly behind me, and then coming onto the top of my toes. And again, you can lift up higher if you want. You can lift up to your fingertips, come up into really opening through the front of that left hip. It depends on how you're feeling after class. And then when you're ready to come forward, you take your time. Again, only go where you can. See if you can feel the top of the left toes just gently pressing into the mat here. And then see if you can imagine just gently drawing your right toes back a little bit, pressing down into them on the mat. A little engagement deeper there. And then literally feel your low back rising with your breath. Almost like you're expanding your entire pelvis with your breath. And then when you're ready to come up onto your forearms and bend that back left knee, again, be really mindful here. This right now just really deepens into the right hip. So don't force anything. If coming up higher onto your hands feels good, that you don't necessarily have to reach back and get hold of that foot back there, but you can if you want. Good. Now we'll come into that long leg. We're going to roll to that right hip, and we're going to come into a wide angle here. So those of you who were doing the figure 4, if you can make your way into sitting, and let yourself, if you need to sit on a blanket, do. Letting your knees and your toes face up towards the ceiling. And now, feel free. Put your hands behind you if you need to in order to sit up tall if it's hard. You can put your hands kind of on the floor. You can do fists and imagine you're trying to lift yourself up off the floor, and that might be enough. If coming forward in this pose feels good to you, you can let yourself ease your way forward, coming forward from your low back. And then finding, if you'd rather have a block or two out in front of you, and that gives you like an ability to come forward where you can use it under your forearms or your head if you go lower, that's up to you. But just enjoy, feel the heels on the floor and draw them back towards you like you're drawing them towards your sitting bones. And press gently into the balls of the feet. And there you have it, right? You're very engaged in your legs here, up into your hips. You can feel those inner thighs. Really imagine your legs are pinned from the inner and outer thighs to the ground so that your knees and toes keep facing up, even as you come forward. Good. Nice. One more breath. Try to keep that sense of keeping the release in the back of your throat so you're not lifting your chin forward and tightening the back of the neck, but instead it feels really good. You can even let your head hang if you want, right? Good. One more breath here. And then to come up, take your time and let yourself bring your legs on around in front of you. For a second, just move through your feet and your ankles a little bit. Shake them out. Good. And then we're going to come on down to our backs on the floor. So, have a block or two handy in case you want it. And then we'll come on down, let our knees come into our chest. And if you can send your feet up towards a little happy baby pose, let yourself send the feet up, slide the thighs on. Your inner thighs kind of come towards your outer rib cage. Now, where you hold is up to you. Your feet, your ankles, the back of your thighs. You know, you don't have to hold it all. If it feels better, just to let the weight of your legs. And obviously, this rolling side to side, for some people, can just feel like heaven. And it's not so good for some of us. So if you feel good to roll side to side too. Good. And then let your knees come on back in towards your chest a little bit. And bring your feet onto the floor. For a second, stretch your arms overhead. Your feet are on the floor. Start to set up for a little bit of bridge pose. But let your arms for now just stay soft for a second overhead. And get your feet really as close as you can to where you think you like your heels in towards your buttocks for your bridge pose. And then let the knees come a little bit, just enough side to side where you shift to the top of one hip and then the other. So it's not a real deep bringing the knees down towards the floor. It's just a little release side to side there. Come on back into center and stop there. And now reach your arms up like you're giving somebody on the ceiling something. Turn your palms to face each other. And now feel like your shoulders are coming off the floor. You're reaching so far, but you still keep the back of your head in the floor. And now let the shoulders come back down. So it's like you're drawing your arm bones back into your sockets. Bend your elbows now and put your upper arms right beside your ribs on the floor with your palms facing each other. And now press into the backs of those arms, and you can lift up and roll your shoulders under more. Separate your hands a little wider. Maybe you can even get your elbows closer underneath you there, and then lift up into a little bridge pose. So you don't have to go high. You can if you want. If you come up and your feet aren't right, readjust. If you want to come up higher, roll your shoulders under more, do. If you feel better to stretch your arms long, do it, right? Or clasp your hands under you. Let yourself find your bridge pose here where you're okay to be. Remember, you're going to feel your thighs in this pose, but you certainly don't want to feel any kind of discomfort in your back. There is a lengthened feeling both in the front and the back of the body in bridge. So one more breath here. And then come down. Let yourself take a little break. Breathe into the back a little bit here. Let your knees do that same very little side-to-side motion. And then we're going to do one more bridge, or if you'd rather do an upward-facing bow pose, you can, or you could also do a supported bridge. So if you want to get a block or blocks, and instead of coming up into bridge, you'd rather be in supported bridge. Remember, you can go high on blocks. You can do 2 blocks and be probably up higher than you can ever get without that support and be able to release into it. But that's up to you. And if you feel like you'd rather come up and stay in your bridge without a block or move up and down out of your bridge, then by all means do that. Just be mindful. Let yourself allow your body to do what you need. And all of you know, without me telling you, that when you come down from a bridge pose, you just need to be very careful to bring your knees in towards your chest. Or find a release if that's even too deep of a reversal from a bridge pose. Do what feels good. You know, some of you may decide you'd rather do something more than that. Cloud pose or anything else that helps your back release. Circle the knees. And then ends of your mat. And then let your knees come a little bit side to side. So these little twists are up to you. You can keep them moving, or you may decide to go to one side and just hang out. So just be mindful and let yourself. And if the body, once you do some of those, wants to do something else, then let yourself. Anything that might be, right? So any kind of movement or pose, feel free to let yourself practice what feels good for you right now. Remember, it doesn't have to be a traditional yoga pose. You might just feel like wiggling around a certain way. And obviously, everybody knows what's coming. It's the best part of class, so those of you at home, unfortunately, my battery is going on my phone. I'm going to put you into getting comfortable for Shavasana there at home. And then I'm going to have to leave you today before we come back. So maybe you can just stay all day if you're home in Shavasana, right? Just be mindful. Let yourself really relax in your Shavasana. And I'll see you next time.